everyone, and welcome back to your daily government in a financial news update. In today's video, we will be discussing the probability of the fourth wave of stimulus checks being sent out through an executive order by President Joe Biden. The likelihood of a fourth stimulus check being approved by Congress, that is, a bill being drafted and then passed to the House or the Senate, and then Biden sends into law pretty much the way that things are typically and should be done, it's fairly unlikely to happen, at least at this point in time. However, this cannot and will not stop President Biden from possibly sending a fourth wave of the payments at the federal level out. He's already done some things in the past to pretty much hint at the possibility of this happening. Barack Obama could go on to issue 276 executive orders between 2009 and 2017. Donald Trump could go on to average even more executive orders per year than Obama did, issuing an average of 55 per year. But I think President Biden is on the go to best both of them, currently issuing 103 executive orders during his first 2 years in office. Now, when Biden's most recent executive orders included designating over 53,000 acres of land in north-central Colorado as the Camp Hill Continental Divide National Monument, which means that this land now won't be able to be used in other ways. This came after Congress hoped to pass what was known as Colorado Outdoor Recreation and Economy Act, which failed numerous times in the Senate to get enough votes to pass. Biden said, "You know what, we are going to get this done anyways," with a flick of a pen. But perhaps more expensively, he recently forgave up to $20,000 worth of student loan debts, with basically just sending people a $20,000 stimulus check. I mean, someone could have had $20,000 saved up, and they were thinking like, hey, should I use this money that I've saved up for work? Should I use this money towards a brand new car? Or perhaps, should I be more responsible and use the $20,000 to finish off paying my student loans? Well, with the latest executive order by President Biden to forgive $20,000 worth of debts, what that money basically went to was buying the person a brand new car. And again, the student loan forgiveness wasn't some bill passed through Congress. It didn't pass through the House, it did not pass through the Senate. It was just Joe Biden and Joe Biden alone saying, "You know what, I think those who went to college who have student loan debt need some extra help. So even though nothing is getting sent to my desk to sign, I'm going to go ahead and send out anywhere between $10,000 to $20,000. Relief to this group of Americans is estimated to cost around $500 billion in total. And remember, the last batch of $1,400 stimulus checks ended up costing just under $400 billion in total. So instead of the student loan relief, he really could have just sent just about every American another $1,400 stimulus check. This could have included those receiving Social Security retirement, SSI, SSDI, or being pretty much just about every other American earning under $150,000 per year for joint filers. Now, of course, its recent executive order sitting out up to $20,000 of relief to college students has recently been in trouble via lawsuits. Two courts actually recently struck it down, claiming that Biden did not have the authority to do so, and he most definitely did not. And now it looks like it will be appealed to the Supreme Court for a final decision. That, of course, didn't stop the Department of Education to send out an email to loan relief applicants over the past weekend, letting them know that they had been approved for up to $20,000 and relief. In the letter, they wrote, "We have sent this approval on to your loan servicer. You do not need to take any further action." Unfortunately, a number of lawsuits have been filed challenging the program, which has blocked our ability to discharge your debt at present. However, we believe strongly that the lawsuits are meritless, and the Department of Justice has appealed on your behalf, your application is completed and approved, and we will discharge your approved debt if and when we prevail in court. So it seems like at this point in time, they are pretty confident that the Supreme Court will uphold Biden's decision to forgive these student loan debts, which could potentially pave the way for more stimulus checks being sent out to most Americans at some point in the near future. In a chart created by the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, we can see that between the administrative actions and the legislative actions, there's about $700 billion left over to be spent with this amount. Some are arguing the money could basically be used just to send out another real payment for stimulus check. The last payments ended up costing a little bit less than $400 billion, so really the money is there to be used. And then we could potentially see checks worth up to $2,000, possibly even more, if they use the entirety of the $700 billion left over. Now, could this be legal? Does President Biden have the authority to send out a $2,000 stimulus check to most Americans without congressional approval? Certainly not. But again, that has not stopped him from sending out what was basically a stimulus checkup of $20,000, at least to those people who went to college and have student loan debts. Also, let's talk about Joe Biden's job approval. At the moment, he is currently holding an average approval rating of 42.1%, which is pretty bad. Now, 2024 is a long way away. That's when he will be up for re-election if he does decide to run once again. And he still has a couple more years to run those dismal ratings around. But if you want to stand a chance at beating someone like Ron DeSantis, who has been quickly rising in the favorability ratings, he will need to pull out all the stops to make this happen. Could that be perhaps sending an executive order for a $2,000 stimulus check, nearly 4 and 5 voters back the most recent $1,400 checks with both Republicans, Democrats, and Independents in support of them? And of all the voters, 54% said they strongly supported a stimulus check. 25% said they were somewhat supportive of one, and just 17% of voters said that they either somewhat or strongly opposed direct payments. So the overwhelming majority of Americans, both Republicans and Democrats, and perhaps most importantly in the middle, those independents that could either sway their way, they could vote for either Republicans or they could vote for Democrats. A lot of independents are in support of the stimulus checks as well. So I think in the end, President Biden could look at these numbers of independents who support these stimulus checks. And then from there, he might make that decision to issue the payments without congressional approval. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.